So, good morning, and we want to welcome back Miss Leanne Franklin. It's glad to have you back. The last time we saw you, we were in an in-person meeting
Mm.
um, at the lake. So it's great to have you back. It's always good to see you, and I know that you and Holly go way back, so that's a beautiful thing. Leanne's talk today is going to be life as a pilgrimage. You're already on the path. And a little bit about Leanne is she is a transition guide, spiritual companion, hospice chaplain, and grief counselor, and also the founder of the Second Act Soul Coaching. She previously served as the creative director and innovation leader at Hallmark Cards, and later as executive director of spiritual care and ethics at the County Hospital Sistine in Fort Worth, Texas. And Leanne holds a Master of Divinity and an MBA and is a board certified in chaplaincy. So, Leanne, without any further ado, welcome back. It's great to see you, and we look forward to the message you will be sharing with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dan. And I concur with all the accolades that Kyle's getting. You saved the day this morning, Kyle. So thank you. And it's so good to be with you all. Let me get my slides shared here. And Holly, thanks for that beautiful prayer.
Ooh.
All right. Okay, can you see the slide okay? Great. Why don't we begin with a meditation? I think this morning reminds us that, everything's uncertain. We never know what's going to happen, and we adjust, and we are safe, and we are loved. And most important this morning, we are together. So I just invite you to settle in wherever you are. Just feel the weight of your body wherever you're sitting, what's ever holding you right now. You don't have to do anything with that weight. Just notice it. Feel supported. Feel held. Now take one breath in and let it go. Another breath in and release. I want you to be able to arrive here fully, not the version of you that's managing everything or trying to solve anything or fix anything, just you, just now, just exactly as you are in this moment. Just see if you can notice what brought you here today. Just think about where you are in this moment. What's it like to be you? There may be several things going on with you. You might be feeling excitement about something. You might be feeling despair, maybe some fatigue, some lethargy, whatever it is, just notice it. This is not a problem to be fixed. This is just us being human. The truth of being alive. And if you want, if it's comfortable, go ahead and put your hand on your heart. Just feel your heart beating. This heart has carried you through everything that has ever happened to you. Every loss, every crossing, every joy, every moment you weren't sure you were going to be able to get up, and you did. You are still here. It's really something. It's really everything. So just thank your heart, your precious heart. And another breath in and out. And just I invite you to consider in the next little bit, we're going to be thinking about pilgrimage, about the paths we walk, chosen and unchosen, about what it means to keep moving when we don't know the way. But before we go anywhere, I want you to know this. You are already on the path. You've always been on the path. You are on your sacred path, the path created for you and only you. You're where you're supposed to be. You have been led, you are being led, and you will be led. And now just take one more breath. And when you're ready, come back to the room. So today, again, I'm so glad to be with you. And we're going to talk about life as a pilgrimage. I want to remind us that this time is for you, each one of you. And I really want to be helpful. I don't want to waste your time. So if it's going to be helpful, you can take out a piece of paper, pen, and jot. I'm going to give a lot of different ideas and principles, but feel free to jot down what really speaks to you. Not everything will, but hopefully something will make a difference. So feel free to take notes and we'll talk afterwards if you have any questions. But again, I really want this to be meaningful and helpful to your life. So let's talk about pilgrimages. In the winter of 2024, so less than 2 years ago, I did something I'd been thinking about for a long time. I laced up my shoes, strapped on a small backpack, and walked 235 miles across Portugal and Spain in the middle of winter by myself. People thought I was brave, maybe, but honestly, I just some days thought I was crazy. But here's what I want to tell you this morning, and this is really the whole talk in one sentence. You don't have to travel to a different place, foreign place, put on a backpack, none of that, to really experience your life or whatever you're going through as a pilgrimage. When I walked, it taught me a lot about transition, taught me about myself, taught me about uncertainty, taught me how to keep moving when I didn't feel I had the energy or the knowledge or the directions. And I'm really hoping that what I learned on that walk, we can all apply to wherever we are. So before we even start, I'd like you to just consider what you're going through right now. Maybe you're going through a challenge. Maybe you're going through a new chapter. Maybe you're taking some risks. Maybe things are not turning out as you wanted them to. Whatever it is, it might help as we're talking today to think about one situation, what season you're in, where you are, and where you want to be. Everybody have something in mind? Okay, let's. So before we talk about why I walked, I want to tell you what the Camino actually is. The Camino de Santiago it's an ancient pilgrimage that's been walked by centuries by people who are seeking healing or renewal or meaning. There are many routes across many countries, and all of them converge on the Cathedral of Santiago in Spain. And pilgrims from every corner of the world have walked this path. And in the winter of 2024, I was one. I didn't walk the Camino because everything was going well. I walked it because I was waking up every morning with gripping anxiety. I had recently left a job that wasn't a match for my skills, and that loss cut deeper than I expected. And the grief of not working anymore, even in a job I didn't like. I was also grieving the recent death of my mother and the end of 7 years of caregiving. And somewhere in all that, I'd lost my bearings. I kind of lost my confidence in myself, and I needed to get that back. I wanted to trust myself again. I wanted to trust God, and I wanted to trust my life as it was unfolding. So I went to walk. And what I found on that path and what I want to offer you today is what I'm calling the Pilgrim's Principles. There are 11 things that the Camino taught me that I really believe can help whatever journey we are navigating right now. So, the first principle is one of the most important ones, and also it can be the hardest to name where you are, to get real with ourselves. Before I could walk the Camino, I had to be honest about why I needed to walk it. I couldn't pretend I was fine. I couldn't perform okayness and expect the path to meet me there. So every transition, every pilgrimage begins by naming where you actually are, not where you wish you were. I like what Richard Rohr says that the truth sets us free, but first it can make us pretty miserable. Or in one talk, he said it can actually piss you off. So just naming where you are, naming that truth is the start of every journey. So I want to ask you to consider, where are you right now, honestly? Not where you think you're supposed to be, not where you were 6 months ago, but right now, today, what is true for you? We can't go anywhere from a place that we don't acknowledge. And once you know where you are, the next question is, what's pulling you forward? And I want to name something important here. Sometimes we choose the path. Like me, I ended the job. I decided to move from Texas back here. We make a deliberate decision. But sometimes the path chooses us. The diagnosis arrives, the relationship ends, the job disappears, the season changes, whether we're ready for not. Either one, whether we choose the path or the path chooses us, both are pilgrimages. And in both cases, the question's the same. What is calling you forward? Even if you can barely name it, what is calling you forward? What makes you willing to put in the effort to take those steps to make the journey? Before I left for the Camino, someone asked me a question that I wasn't expecting. They said, how do you want to feel when you get back? Not what's your destination, not how many miles are you going, but how do you want to feel? And that question really stuck with me. You know, And I said, after pondering a lot, I want to feel like myself again. I want to feel like this version of myself, the self I've become after caregiving, after my mom's death, after losing this job, leaving this job. I wanted to feel like who I am now. I wanted to trust myself. I wanted to feel grounded. And I wanted to feel at peace, like my life fits me again. So that became the compass for my journey. And I want to invite you to do the same. So if you think about what you're going through right now, after you've made some, gotten a significant way through, how do you want to feel? How do you want to be? Who do you want to be on the other side of that? Um, if we name that, that can really carry us through the rough spots of the journey. Here's the next principle then. Principle number 4, anticipate the terrain. I thought I read a lot of guidebooks when I was thinking about going on the Camino. And so I thought I knew what it would require of me. I read so much about blisters and socks and the right shoes and rain gear and all that. But I didn't prepare for the emotional way it would affect me. Um, I did not prepare for walking alone. I'd read about, thousands and thousands of pilgrims who walk the path. My first day, when I set off from Porto, I walked 18 miles. I did not see one person the entire way. I was not prepared for how alone I would be, and I was not prepared for the 10 hours of silence. I was so used to listening to podcasts or music or conversations. I couldn't use my phone for any of those things because I needed it for my maps. So the silence, my thoughts, my arising grief, that's what I didn't prepare for. So the terrain surprised me. And it always does, because we never can know when we're going to go through something, what that terrain is actually going to be like. So this principle is asking, honestly, and with humility, what will this path require of me physically, emotionally, relationally, spiritually? As we consider this, we're not going to get it perfectly right because we can't anticipate the road that we haven't yet walked, but the question matters. So here's an example. You're navigating a career transition. Maybe you've left a role or you've been let go. There's the practical things like updating your resume or managing your finances. Those are real and very important. But did you consider the emotional strain, the identity loss, what it's going to feel like when you're not saying, I am this, I've done this as a job? That was one thing I experienced. The relational terrain, how some colleagues might disappear and others will surprise you by really showing up. The spiritual terrain, the best question of whether you still matter, whether your best work is behind you. So really considering how all of these could possibly impact you as you walk are thoughts worth considering. The train's always wider than we expect, and asking about those 4 dimensions, physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual, can help prepare us for the questions that might arise as we walk. Which brings us to principle number 5, name your non-negotiables. Every morning on the Camino, I woke up in an albergue, a pilgrim dormitory. So here's a picture of one where I actually stayed. I had, and the next morning when I woke up so tired, my feet really hurting, or, it's snowing outside, this is a non-negotiable. I had to get up, I had to leave, I had to walk. The albergues wouldn't let us stay beyond 10 o'clock in the morning. So walking was a non-negotiable. Whether I felt like it or not, I put on my shoes, got on my rain gear, and started walking. So in our own transitions, we need to name our non-negotiables. The commitments we make to ourselves, they don't just bend because we feel like giving up on a given morning. So, what are your non negotiables? Maybe it's I will move forward today, even if it's just one step. I will do something concrete that gets me towards the person I want to be and how I want to feel when I get on the other side of this. So, what does your path demand of you? And what will you demand of yourself? That brings us to Pilgrim's Principle number 6. Pack wisely and choose your companions carefully. Before I left for the Camino, I spent weeks thinking about what to put in my backpack. Every ounce mattered. If it was too heavy, I'd hurt myself. If it was too light, I'd be unprepared. I had to make real decisions. What's essential and what can I leave behind? And this is true of our inner journeys. What do you need to carry you through this season? What nourishes you spiritually, physically, emotionally? What sustains you when the path gets hard? And then there's the question of companions. Not everybody who loves you or cares for you is meant to walk this particular stretch of path with you. Some people energize you for this journey, and others, through no fault of their own, they drain you or they don't really get where you are, or they're clinging to who you were 6 months ago or 6 years ago, and they can't see the change that is happening in you. So I invite us to be discerning about what we carry along with us and who we walk beside. Choose carefully and give yourself permission to walk some stretches with different people than you expected. So, principle number 7, walk in stages and build in rest. Here's something that nobody told me about the Camino that I wish they had. You don't walk 235 miles, you walk today's miles just for today. So every single day I had one destination, not Santiago, not Finisterre, just the next village, just today. So, and you have to build in rest. 3 days in a row, I walked 20 to 25 miles. And if I hadn't built in rest, my feet would not have done it. I needed nutrition along the way. So that applies not only on the Camino, but in everyday life. How do we build in the rest? How are we listening to ourselves moment by moment, hour by hour, to see what we need in this moment? Do we need a glass of water? Do we need to sit down? Do we need to call a friend? What's going to spiritually, relationally, physically, emotionally nourish us step by step by step? We live in a culture that treats rest as a reward for finishing, but on the Camino, rest has to be built in, not as a reward, but as a requirement. How can you give yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit exactly what it needs today and every day? Pilgrim's principle number 8, you can carry more than one thing at once. I really would love for you to be able to take this with you today. When I was walking, I was exhausted and exhilarated at the same time. I was lonely, but also deeply at peace. I missed home, and also I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. In each case, two things, two emotions, both true at the same time. So, what are you holding? And is it possible that you can merge those two together? Every morning when I started walking, I was just surprised. It was quiet, meditative. Walking is such a meditative exercise, and I would find tears just flowing just down my face. And I came to recognize it as grief over the job I had just left, grief over the death of my mom, grief over the meaning and purpose I had experienced in caregiving, grief over the great position I had left in Texas when I, took on more caregiving responsibilities. And so the tears just flowed. But also, I'd noticed gratitude, just gratitude for the gift of being able to walk, gratitude for the nature that surrounded me. And I was feeling both of those at the same time, kind of like the rainbow, the light and the beauty in the midst of the rain. And so I named it for myself griefitude. I was feeling both grief and gratitude at the same time. So I've held on to that word ever since, and I find myself and my patients and clients, griefitude is it's a common thing, but when we can name both that we feel at the same time, it helps to give language to those merging emotions. So what are you carrying? What emotions are you carrying as you consider what you are going through? And remember, we don't have to choose one or the other. We can feel many emotions at the same time. On the Camino, pilgrims kept journals, which leads me to principle number 9, keep field notes. You have never been this person before. We've never been in this moment of time before. And oftentimes, because we might be in the same place, we might just skip over the moments, the precious moments that are happening in our lives. But I just invite us to take note, to really experience and name and maybe write down what we're going through. You could just, open the notes app in your phone and just, a couple times in the day, wow, just noticing beauty or writing down how you're feeling, what emotion you're feeling. Some people take pictures, they force themselves to find one beautiful thing to take picture of every day. And so it trains their mind and their eyes to look in a different way. However it works for you, daily or weekly, just to write down the markers on this journey so that you can remember, you can notice, you can celebrate the little steps, the milestones along the way. Keep field notes. Your life is worth recording. And collect your stamps. Pilgrim principle number 10. On the Camino, pilgrims carry this credential. You get it. I got it at the cathedral in Porto when I arrived. And as you walk, you go into different places and you can see every place you would get a stamp. And the stamp says, I was here. I really showed up. And somebody could attest for it. They could be my witness. And then at the end, at the cathedral in Santiago, you bring in your pilgrim book, your credentials, and they review it and make sure that you've walked the required amount of miles, and then you can get a certificate at the end. But I think that, this idea is not just for the Camino. We can validate ourselves in our own lives. So, you've crossed so many thresholds already that nobody gave you a stamp for. You survived the hard season. You stayed present in the disappointment. You took the phone call you didn't want to take. You got through that sleepless night. You showed up when you had nothing left. Those are your stamps. They matter. So just in whatever way you can, maybe in your field book, just put a little star around what you've done, what's worth celebrating, and collect your stamps along the way. You might want to, at the end of each day, just say, these are the 3 things I'm really proud of. This is how I showed up, and write them down, because life matters and you matter. And just saying that you were here and you did this, that matters too. Okay, the ending that wasn't the end. So, something happened on the Camino. I had charted 17 days to be gone, and I was going to end in Santiago. But that first day, when I came to my albergue, I was surprised to find somebody was already there. His name was Jose. He had walked from Porto, and he said, "Oh, you're the other pilgrim." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "There, do you know that register that we signed at the cathedral?" I said, "Yes." He said every single pilgrim has to document that they're beginning the journey. And there were only 2 people on the registry that day, Jose and myself. And we ended up at the same albergue, which I just thought was a miracle. So we went out for a simple dinner that night. And he told me that he was walking beyond Santiago. I said, "Tell me more." He said he wanted to go to Finisterre, which is, it's called the end of the world. The name literally means the end of the world, and it's on the sea. And he wanted to go beyond the cathedral and keep going. I thought, gosh, I want to end at the sea too. I remembered my mom, who had just died. She gave me Anne Morrow's book, The Gift of the Sea. And I thought, I want to give myself that gift. So I had to quickly figure out how to up my daily average from about on 12 miles a day to an average of 18 to 20 miles a day and redo my whole route, which, like I said earlier, I ended up walking almost 25 miles 3 days in a row, but I was determined to get to the sea. And I share this because sometimes we think the end of our journey is going to be the end, but it's not really the end. So oftentimes life has other plans for us. So, just be open as we're crossing through, as we're going through a challenge. The end, the end might be extended. And I found that I was given everything I needed to do the further journey. And those 60 extra miles, some of the most extraordinary things happened in that time. So I'm so glad that I didn't shorten it and stay to my initial finishing line. So that's the principle number 11. The path may be longer than you planned, and it's okay. What might life be calling to you to that's further than you had planned? What is the further yes for you? In what ways are you being called to keep going? And what strength and comfort and tools and sustenance are you being given along the way? When we're really open to not only what we're doing, but what we're receiving, when we're really open to all the support that surrounds us from things that we see and from things that are unseen, we can really be surprised and humbled and grateful because we find out that we are more supported than we can even imagine. So, hear these words. You are more ready than you think you are. And wherever your journey takes you, trust that you're given what you need to go on. So if the path is longer than you thought, go anyway. So I've named all of these principles. So again, if you've got your notepad or anything, or just think through which one of these, as you consider what you're going through now, a challenge, a season of joy, grief, an illness, supporting somebody else, which one of these principles speaks most to you? Name where you are. Name what's calling you forward. Envision how you want to feel on the other side. Anticipate the terrain. Name your non negotiables. Pack wisely and choose your companions carefully. Walk in stages and build in rest. You can carry more than one thing and more than one emotion at a time. Keep field notes. Your life matters and it's worth recording. Collect your stamps. Don't be afraid to celebrate what you have gone through. Name it, write it down, share it. And then the path may be longer than you planned, and go anyway. Those are the principles that I learned on my journey. So if it saves you from getting on a plane and getting blisters, then it will make me very happy and make it even more useful than it was for me. So I want to send you forward with a little blessing. No, you are already on your path, your sacred path. Every hard thing you've survived, every threshold you've crossed, every stamp you've earned, it's all been preparing you. The edge of the world is waiting. Walk toward it. Bless you, and thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. That was wonderful. My goodness. Wow, so inspiring. I love all of those principles. I mean, again, some of them will appeal to us more than others, but thank you for sharing that. That was just wonderful to see. I can't even imagine doing that trek that you did. So thank you for what you shared today. It's greatly appreciated. And we look forward to talking a little bit further about it too in Coffee Talk. So thanks for hanging around for a little bit with us.